People know that. We now live on. Oh wait, there's the camera.
That's the camera. You got to remember, we got loads of screens. There's the camera. Welcome everybody to Dr. Chris and Dr. Zand live.
It's spelled live. L-I-F-E. Oh, that's wrong, isn't it?
That's life.
Now, we had so many brilliant comments yesterday. First of all, thank you so much for tuning in. We have people from all over the world. We've got Mexico, Australia, Israel, Canada, all the bits and pieces. It's fantastic to see you all here. We've had tens of thousands of people tuning in, so thank you very, very much indeed. It is lovely to get your comments. I want to give a big shout out to Sophie, who made several comments last time and we didn't get to say hello. There are lots of other people we haven't managed to shout out to either, and we're going to do our best. The other thing is, hang on, I'm going to move this camera so that we're actually looking approximately in the same place. How's that? Is that better? Is that all right?
Put it on the little... Put it on the... Put it on that thing. Oh, there's some things. Let's move the things. There we go.
How's that? Is that all right?
YouTube. I think I'm told. We're getting a little message. YouTube is not live. I'm getting a message saying YouTube.
There's often a bit of a delay.
Is live.
Often a bit of a delay.
A little delay.
Sorry. I mean, there's no point in saying sorry if
you're on YouTube. We're unlucky. Sorry that you can't listen to us saying sorry.
But everyone else who was,
you should have backed Insta or Facebook.
So first of all, we little suggestions, and we got some brilliant ones. The Daily Dose, a few people said that. A lot of people have noticed that Operation Ouch rhymes with couch. So there was everything from ouch on the couch to the ouch couch to don't poo on the ouch couch or couch your ouch on the... There were all sorts of things like that. That's all brilliant. So we loved all of those. The doctors will see you now. We love that. It's a nasty case of lockdown-itis. That was very good. Twinteresting science time, twinteresting ouch time, an apple a day. Someone just suggested that we call it Silly Billies. Well, that is ridiculous. I mean, what a silly suggestion. Why would we ever do that?
Neither of us are called Billy.
And then we also got I also want to give a special shout out to Owen from Lancashire. He was diagnosed with PCD. That's pretty tough, and I know you've had a bit of a rough year. It sounds like you have been incredibly brave and you've been really looking after your mum, Kerry. So amazing work, Owen, and good luck with all of that.
I've managed to activate the chat on YouTube as well. Please shout out to the Hobbit class who are watching in school. That's from Sarah. Feels like it's a bit of a multiple for one there. Quite a few people watching in Mexico and Bromsgrove, which is lovely to hear.
Is that Bromsgrove?
Might be Mexico. Bromsgrove, Mexico. We should say that in Spanish. We should learn to say hello in all the different languages of everyone watching us.
Yeah, we could do that.
Send us your language that you speak or you're watching in, and we're going to have a go at learning that. Operation Ouch. We do a lot of focus on memory.
Well, they're all watching in English, Chris, because that's all we've got. That's all we're able to do.
I was going to say listening. The language you speak. You'll say hello in. Pick a difficult...
Why are you doing this? What the running order?
I don't know. We forgot something yesterday. We set you all a project. Be watching with food. Got to do anything. Sat there. If you have it, okay. Next to you, great. We're going to do something at the end. If you don't have food next to you, what we'd love is we want to do an experiment to figure out if there's a food that you hate. If you try it every day for 10 days,
you don't have to eat a plate of it. Just a mouthful.
Try a decent mouthful every day for 10 days. Can you end up liking that food? So, Dr. Zand, I've prepared you. Do you know about this? I've prepared you. I got Lyra. My daughter Lyra really enjoys eating insects, and so what you a whole one is on at the end of today's episode is going to eat a dried grasshopper.
Yeah, hold him right up to the camera, Chris. Hold him up to the Instagram camera. There you go. There's his little face. He's not alive, obviously.
And there he is to everyone else.
His legs seem to have broken off. I don't know if the legs are in the legs in the jar.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway.
So Zan, and in fact, we'll both eat a bit of grasshopper at the end of today. Do you like grasshoppers?
I don't know. I don't think so. I've never looked at a grasshopper and thought, yum. So the reason that we're doing this, you probably noticed that Operation Ouch is quite disgusting in bits, and there's a strange thing where disgusting things are sort of fun and they make you laugh, but they're also, you kind of want to look away, you sort of want to watch between your fingers. And so we do that really deliberately, because we know that if you get used to dealing with disgusting things, they stop being disgusting and they become a bit easier to cope with. And often in life, I mean, particularly when you get older, you might have children, and children are just covered in poo. It's not the entire time. So it's a good skill for parents not to be too grossed out by stuff. But in fact, in general, if you broke a leg or you grazed your knee, or perhaps a friend of yours did, you'd be less grossed out the more operation ouch you've watched. So that's why we do it.
My kids have given me worms twice this year. And nits.
No one needs to know about your...
I'm just underlining.
It is true. And many of you will have given your parents nits or worms or some other, even a cold. Yuck.
We'll do an episode on worms. So that's your disgusting food. If you have some healthy food, it can't just be any... Ideally, the food would be healthy. Grasshoppers are actually a really healthy snack. So go and get some healthy food that you don't really enjoy, whatever it is, or get your grown-up to do that for you. And we'll do that at the end of today. So we'll start that today. Now, lungs,
Rose, we want to say hello. Very glad you love the...
Geraldine, my mummy ate olives.
Ali got edible insects for Christmas, and the grasshoppers are tasty. All right, well, I feel quite inspired. Harry, hello. Josh and Ollie, they don't like curries. Well, maybe they're too spicy, but we actually love curry. But you will definitely get used to that as you get older.
Sally from Hyde 11.
Sadie.
Say.
He's not. Why isn't this working, Chris?
It's
Do you know what I mean? It's sort of jarring. Anyway, okay, we'll keep doing some shout-outs in a bit, but we can't make it all work. Okay, come on, Chris.
Are we still live on Facebook? I want to make sure we are still live on Facebook.
We've got a thumbs up from the team.
Okay.
Okay, Chris, here we go.
The main page.
Uh-oh, Chris is panicked now.
Okay, I'm just going to assume we're still live. I'm going to assume that. Lungs quiz. We're going to do a bit of a lungs quiz. Where is my lungs quiz? We were watching... You've been watching... we hope you've been watching one of the Do Try This series of Operation Ouch if you have access to iPlayer. We asked you to watch episode 2, which is about lungs. We want 2 different gases that are the purpose of the lungs to manage your body's balance of.
Meave hates Brussels sprouts. Selena, hello. Chris, what do you think?
Are we definitely live on Facebook?
We are.
Live on Facebook. I just can't see any of the Facebook questions. I can't see the Facebook questions since Zan touched it.
No. Here. Don't worry about that.
Don't
worry about that. You do your bit.
Okay, I'll do my bit. So we want 2 go. Let's have a look. We've got Jonah, you or Iona. I think you got it right. Sophie, you got it right. Everyone is so far getting this right. Rosie doesn't like cucumbers. I think you're answering an earlier question. Oxygen from Helen. Oxygen and carbon dioxide. That is right. So most of you seem to be getting that right. The lungs aren't just about getting oxygen into your blood, which is transported around your body. Your body then burns carbon fuel, almost exactly like most cars do, turning carbon fuel into carbon dioxide.
Say what carbon fuel is, because we're not drinking petrol or diesel.
So all of the calories that you eat, there are 3 kinds of calories you can eat. You can eat fats, you can eat sugars or carbohydrates, and you can eat protein. And you can turn all of those foods into energy. And they're all those foods are basically made of carbon. Humans are carbon-based life forms. We're made of carbon, we burn carbon, we get oxygen in, we mix oxygen with carbon, and we turn it into carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a very acidic gas when you dissolve it in liquid, so we have to then breathe it out and get rid of it. So carbon dioxide is our waste gas. And if you know a is trying to lose weight, the really interesting thing, anyone who loses any amount of weight is they breathe it all out. When you burn fat in your body or you burn any fuel at all, you breathe out the weight of carbon. So that's just an interesting fact.
It's an interesting fact.
Breathe out weight, and you breathe out weight all night. Question 2. What is the proper name of the windpipe? The tube that goes from your mouth and nose and carries air down toward your lungs into your chest.
Now, while you're answering that, if you got the Facebook questions up, can I see, is there any way for me to see the Facebook responses? Because we can't see them.
Here we go.
We're trying to do it.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Sorry,
Here we
Johnny.
go.
Sorry.
We got it.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so we can chop. George and Molly don't like Brussels sprouts.
George and Molly,
Very
go
common.
cook yourself some Brussels sprouts for tomorrow, because Brussels sprouts are genuinely really delicious and they're really, really good for you. Foods that make you fart are good for you. Okay, let me do this.
I can't make it.
Linda loves pasta and cheese. Lucinda, beg your pardon. So we've got Darcy says esophagus. Quite a few people are saying esophagus. I can see why you wanted to change this.
For tomorrow, you got to mute it. Now we're watching ourselves.
Here we go.
Okay, there we go.
So we've got quite a few people saying esophagus, and there's some amazing spellings of esophagus. Americans and British people spell esophagus. Evan says esophagus spelt very correctly, but esophagus is the wrong answer. The esophagus is the tube that carries food from your mouth to your stomach, and it sits behind this tube here. Now, while we're waiting for more of the answers to come in, if you put your fingers on your throats here and you press, what you'll be feeling is your trachea. That's the name of the tube. And if you press a little bit hard, don't press too hard, you'll actually, it's so uncomfortable it makes yourself cough, it makes you cough. And the trachea is really sensitive because obviously you want to protect it. It's one of the most important tubes anywhere in your body, because without a trachea you can't get air into your lungs.
So have a think. The next time you're taking a big breath in, have a think about how you get food into your tummy and air into your lungs. Not quite at the same time, but you can kind of, it's pretty amazing. And that is all down to a little flap called the epiglottis that decides whether you're breathing in air, in which case it closes off the esophagus, or whether you're trying to swallow some food, in which case it closes off the trachea. And occasionally you get it wrong and a bit of food goes down the wrong way and that makes you cough.
Question 3. What is the surface area of your lungs? If we took your lungs out of your body and we got all the little air sacs at the end, all the branching tubes, the air sacs are called alveoli, how big an area could you spread it over? So that's the same as saying how much area has the gas got to come into contact with your blood to get rid of the carbon dioxide and get the oxygen into your red blood cells.
Now, do you want to tell people, while people are trying to think about this, there you go, you see, I tried to not have that happen, but it didn't work. Sorry, Instagram, I got a phone call. I've said no phone calls, but it hasn't worked. Chris, just talk about how the lungs are made, because I think lots of us think from seeing cartoons or from imagining what's in our chest, a lot of people think your lungs are a bit like a couple of big plastic bags or balloons that you sort of, and your whole chest is filled with air, but that isn't right, is it?
If you
I've got your prop.
Oh, good. If you can see a tree out your window, we've got some trees out the window. The tree is probably the one of the closest things in nature to your lungs. So the trachea is the trunk of the tree. It then splits let's make it quite a simple tree where it just splits once into two big main tubes. Obviously the tree would be upside down in your body with the trunk going down here. These two main tubes called the bronchi split off here on the right side and the left side, and then those two split into 4, those 4 split into 8, those 8 split into 16 to 32, and 64, so on and so forth. And as they branch and branch and branch, by the time we get to many hundreds of millions of tiny little twigs on the end of the tree, there are little sacs where the air ends up, and that's called alveoli. And the alveoli is where the gas gets out of the blood into the lungs, or
good job, Keris.
From the air into the blood.
Luna says a football pitch. Sam says half a tennis court. Haley says a football pitch.
So you can think of the leaves on a tree as being like the alveoli, but instead of there being leaf shaped, they're little sacs,
like Christmas tree baubles, but tiny.
What that means is when you actually look at a lung, if you've watched that episode or you watch Operation Ouch, you can, if you're grown-ups will allow it, you can actually buy lungs from lots of butchers. It's safe meat. People eat lungs. There's some really lovely soups you can make.
Some very old-fashioned recipes you can make, including
No, don't do
Lasagna.
No.
And my very favourite spaghetti bolognese.
So you can't. Anyway,
Don't make any of those things. Do listen to your parents, because it's not. Most people don't want a big old pair of lungs hanging around in their house.
But you can get them. But
you could ask the butcher if you're very curious.
All the tiny little air sacs. Imagine all the leaves in a very, very bushy tree were sacs of air. They all end up pushed up next to each other, and the overall effect looks like a sponge.
Yeah, hold it up so you can see. The point about the sponge is that you can see these tiny, tiny little holes in it there. It's actually quite hard to see, isn't it? But there we go.
We got a few answers coming in. So the Pamela,
Cora, hello.
Pamela's got it correct. I'm just let's have a look. Who else has got it correct? We want the size of these lungs. That's correct. So some people are saying an Olympic swimming pool is not correct, but it's still a great sort of unit of measurement. The answer is half a tennis court. Now, the truth is, it's a bit of a guess, because even a tennis court has little bumps in it, so you could spread a tennis court out further, and you could probably spread the lungs out a bit further. But it's something like half a tennis court.
Yeah, I think the reason we always say this is to give people a sense of how much room there is in your chest. The reason there has to be so much what we call surface area is so that gas can get in, and oxygen can get in, and carbon dioxide can get out. But of course, whenever you're measuring surface area, it depends on how you've decided to measure it. So if you wanted to measure the coastline of the UK, if you just got a map of the and measured around it, you would get, a reasonable, few hundred miles. But then if you went down every single grain of sand and little bump and every wave around the coast, you'd get something that was millions and millions of miles long. So depending on if you wanted to walk the coastline as an ant, it would take you longer than if you wanted to walk it as a human. Do you see what I mean? Is that helpful?
Even if the ant could walk it as fast as a human.
I don't know if that's a helpful explanation.
Let's
I'm just making it up as I go along.
Let's move on and have a look at a few people from. Let's look at some comments from YouTube. See who's saying what.
I think they can.
Not with that. I don't think we're gonna. Zan, knock knock.
Who's there?
Who? Is there an owl there? We didn't do it right. No.
Who's there?
Who?
Who?
Is that an owl? Are you an owl? I didn't do it right. Anyway, it could be good. It could be good. Examine the lungs. Here we go. So we've got the youngs are actually lummy. Try them from Lulin.
Yeah, it's true. I was looking at a recipe for some lung soup on the internet today. If you want to, and your grown-ups are up for it, then cook.
We got a few things to
examine the lungs, Chris. What do doctors do? Doctors are interested in lungs. In fact, one of the most common things that happen to you when you go to the doctors is that they listen to your lungs, because people often go with respiratory infections, so chest and throat infections, because they pass around a lot, because viruses and bugs love to get between us in that way. So Chris is going to tell us a bit about it.
So when we look at a patient's lungs, doctor, we'll try and, over the coming weeks, try and give you a bit of an insight into the way real doctors, nurses, physiotherapists actually do things. So if I'm going to examine someone's chest, sorry, it's not new, not continuous. It's a nervous.
You wash your hands?
I have washed my hands. Strain coming out.
How am I breathing? Am I,
is he breathing? So first of all, you just look at the patient and take a few seconds to do it. So everyone just have a
the patient. I'll tell you about their breathing. What medicines do they have beside their bed, and so on. Okay,
so
keep going.
We're just going to focus on the lungs today. We're not going to get into all of clinical examination.
So there is a thing actually that you can see about my breathing at the moment, which is at the moment I am breathing with my mouth open, and that is not a normal thing. And if I close my mouth, I make quite a lot of noise when I breathe. So when I went to the COVID clinic and was looked after by Chris's colleagues in UCH, the physio who was looking after me said, "Do you know you're breathing through your mouth?" And I didn't. And I was sitting there going, Now, first thing she did was look at me and go, "You are a bit short of breath. You know, you're still recovering from COVID." Yeah.
Okay.
So then she said, "You know what she said? She said, close your mouth when you're breathing." It was really good. It's good advice. So, why don't you close your mouth?
If what I do is I tell you just be quiet for a second, then we could all see you breathing. So you're aware of it now. But so we might see Zahn breathing a bit fast. So we inspect. Nothing much wrong. We can see Zahn's a sort of well person. Then we do palpation, where we might get him to breathe, take a big breath in, and check his chest expands properly. Then we can do something called percussion, and you can try this on your grown-ups or each other. Percussion is a really useful thing to do. It's where you put a finger on the chest like that, and you press hard with that finger, and then you tap it with the two other fingers like a hammer.
Let's do that a little bit closer. So far we've done inspection, palpation. And palpation just means feeling. So if someone comes in and says, "I've got pain in my chest," you might feel and go, where does it hurt? Or can I feel any lumps, bumps? Are there any scars or any problems? Thing to do. So I'm going to get a bit closer to. Actually, I'm going to get a bit closer to the camera, and then you show them what you're doing, because you're in a rib space. Just do it properly.
If you're quiet, they might be able to hear. Okay. And then so that sounds hollow and it feels hollow. So I move down. Just sit down, doctor. We're not positioned particularly well for doing this, but as I go here over Zahn's heart, or here, his liver, it sounds dull. And the other thing that you can use percussion for is on this wall, okay, behind me, move. So this is a hollow wall. It's a really bad wall, but...
Well, it's a really lovely wall, because it's an old wall.
Just quiet for a second. Listen, hollow, dull, hollow, dull. So that's where I know there's wood behind the wall, and that is why there is a bracket holding the shelf up. So we do the same thing in the human body. We're looking for hollowness or dullness.
Is it worth saying, Chris, as well, that your wall, when we drilled into Chris's wall to try and hang those shelves, it turned out that his house is very old and his wall is filled with horse hair.
Yeah, it's quite old, so you can't put shelves on it easily.
Bonkers.
So we'll go into this in more detail.
So with percussion,
we do. Sorry, so we can only one of us can do this at once.
Okay,
but you go.
No, go ahead.
So no, you go.
What I was going to say is with percussion, because it is an interesting thing to do, and you can then hear the hollowness of the chest. The key is when you start to do it, you think, "Oh, I'm going to hit the finger really hard." You don't need to hit the finger hard. You need to push firmly with that hand, and then you can tap quite lightly. And in fact, you don't have to push hard so it hurts.
Is just tap around people's chests, see if you can find the dull areas where the heart is, where the liver is. But you do, just as we would to a patient, you have to ask permission. So it's inspection, palpation, feeling, percussion, tapping, and then auscultation is when we get out the stethoscope. And we do not have time to go into that today, but that is auscultation, and we will probably spend a whole
day.
A whole minute to do the movements we've done the last 2 days. I'm going to do all of them, and then we're going to add another movement. So if you're with your grown-ups, they might have a bit of knee pain. This should be safe for everyone who can stand up and move to do it, but don't do it if you've got any concerns. But this really should be safe for most people who can stand up. If you're lying in bed, if you're not able to stand up, you can actually just move a limb in a similar way. See if you can do that. Okay, so Zahn's gonna walk me through it. Exercise 1. We're going to do dog weeing. Can you hold the camera?
Hang on, I've got two cameras. I know.
Make that field of view a bit wider. Okay, exercise 1 is dog weeing. doing this.
Well, obviously, I don't know what they're doing, Chris. There's the different angle.
I'd love to see the schools watching. Was about 7.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, now
do that on both sides.
If there's, I think there are some physios. We know at least one physio. Two. Ten. Okay, and then today's exercise is half a snow angel while you're standing up. So again, standing up, shift onto one leg, and then if you can,
hang on.
You do this. Is YouTube still working?
My exercise of the day is holding this camera up. I'm getting extremely tired. Get on with it.
YouTube still working?
Yes, it's all working.
Okay, so then we're just going to do this. So try and, first of all, get your balance on one leg. Put a finger on something if you need to, or on someone. Okay, then 1, 2, 3.
Now, while Chris is doing this, okay, while you're about where you start to get tired, tuck your strings in, Chris. When we're filming Operation Ouch, we get shouted at if we don't tuck our strings in because it looks a bit amateur. But at the moment, the person who shouts, tuck your strings in, isn't here. So the standards are falling. Okay, Chris, so that's really good. So what you'll notice, actually, if you keep doing it, where does it hurt, Chris?
So I'm moving this leg.
Starts to hurt in which bum?
But it hurts that bum.
In your opposite bum. And that's
Okay.
because the muscles on the leg that's on the floor are having to tense to hold your body upright, basically. That's doing all the work. Okay, lovely. Let's get the camera back. I'm going to get... Oh, my arm hurts.
Okay, we've got, very quickly, Zand, part of the ambition of what we're doing is we want you to look after your grown-ups.
It's difficult, everyone, being at home in the pandemic. So, we thought it would be useful... Oh, I've got hair in my mouth. I've got beard hair in my mouth. We thought it would be useful to remind everyone that living in close proximity with your family, with your grown-ups, with everybody else is difficult.
We know this.
And so there is of stuff somewhere in the house that some grown-up has made a little pile of for you. It's your stuff that you've left in the kitchen or in the living room, you've left lying around. They've made a little pile, and all you have to do is take it to your bedroom. Might be on the stairs, might be the entrance to your bedroom, but it will be there. And I know that pile is there in your house somewhere because I make a pile for me to go to my bedroom, and I live on my own, and I put it on the stairs, and I never take it to my bedroom. So take your stuff and tidy it away. It's a very easy thing to do. You've already had help making the little pile, but if there's a pile of laundry or toys or anything on the stairs, pick them up and take them to your bedroom.
People are gonna.
Yeah. That's really good. If you like eating insects, keep eating insects because got some wingy.
Shout out to Frankie. We also want to let you know that next week, season 9 of Operation Ouch is starting on CBBC.
Chris, that is literally the worst announcement I've ever heard. For series 9 of Operation Ouch, you go, here's how Dr. Chris announces it. Hi everyone, we'd just like to let you know that series 9 of Operation Ouch will be going out next week.
Episode 3. It's
Fine. Supplying blood to your hand, and it's running along your wrist there. So that's what you're feeling, is a tube that's pulsing. It goes up.
to empty your head. Do this together. We're just going to do this for a few breaths. And your mind might wander the things you're worrying about. Just you may just notice the pulse slow down a little bit, and hopefully we're leaving you all in a more relaxed state. It's been great having all your comments. We're going to do some more shout outs at the end of the show on Friday. Sorry that
I think the tech may have been a bit glitchy, but we're going to do our best to get it going better.
I'm sorry, there's just not enough bandwidth. We may have to get some